All right, we are here on the Sports Exchange, and tonight our show will consist of David Levin and Tom Shanahan. And David Levin leads it off with some big news out of Jacksonville.
Well, if anybody hasn't heard already, the Executive Vice President of Football Operations, Tom Coughlin, has been relieved of his duties, which means that one of the figureheads in the upper management of the organization is no longer with the team.
Okay.
The surrounding, I guess, feeling amongst the fans around here was either why did it take so long, or why did Khan decide to do it now as opposed to the end of the season? There are many reasons why you can make the argument for either, but because of the situation that happened this week with the NFL Players Association, where Coughlin has been the key and central figure in all of this, for believing that mandatory is really mandatory, or saying voluntary is mandatory. So everything is mandatory in terms of what Coughlin believes. Prevailing firestorm is that all these things became part of, a growing, I'm going to call it Jiffy Pop, and it finally exploded.
So continue on, David. I'm rolling with the roll.
Okay, so what happens now, because the announcement was made right around dinner time. I don't know, I'm not privy to the conversation, I'm not sure what was going on, but I know that there was a statement released by Shad Khan saying that he had relieved Tom of his duties, and that he thanked, Tom for all his service. And while the media is working to scour through what's going on with how this happened and whatnot, social media is kicking it around like a wildfire. Well, he's gone. There's going to be changes. What else happened? Maybe we break this down in a few things here, Scott, if it's okay, if you don't mind. Let's talk first about what the immediate implication is.
Go ahead.
Because Tom Coughlin was the yes man to everything, or the no man to everything. Everything still had to go through him. While contracts were negotiated by other people in the organization, like Dave Caldwell and Tom Idzik, everything had to have Coughlin's stamp of approval. Whether it was players coming in, players being traded, players being released, salary cap issues, who was going to be retained, who was going to be cut. Coughlin is the guy that was the one who oversaw everything. So when the news broke out, I think it was Monday, about the NFL Players Association saying that, of all the grievances that have been filed, 25% over the last 2 years have been by players associated with the Jaguars. That speaks volumes about what's going on within the organization. And as you and I have talked about on many occasions, while we've been at games, as we talked amongst the masses in the media room, winning cures everything, but winning also, it hides a lot of things too. Because I'm pretty sure that even in 2017, when Coughlin came in, he's a hard-nosed football coach. And what may have worked in 1995 didn't work in 2019. So as long as you're winning, you're hiding the fact that there's still possible issues going on inside the building. And, maybe that's the tip of the iceberg, where it starts to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But as the team starts to lose, there are cracks in that, that wall, that ceiling. You're starting to see people speak out. Players are not happy. Jalen Ramsey, for one, was very outspoken about the fact he just didn't like management, and we couldn't figure out why. Well, maybe now we know. He had issues with Leonard Fournette. Evidently, that was fixed, or at least it was quelled. And then there are problems that existed with Telvin Smith. He's no longer with the team. There are problems that exist still with Dante Fowler, which were discussed through Twitter accounts and the NFL Players Association, NFL.com. And you got the sense that there were players in the building who liked playing, they liked Doug Marrone. Maybe they felt the same way that Jalen Ramsey did. And that's not a good look for anybody. That's not a good look for the Jaguars. That's not a good look for the NFL.
Well, the bottom line to me that when you really weigh the whole thing, why Shad Khan would go ahead and move now instead of 2 weeks, this became a PR nightmare.
Correct. It is, and I don't know what it's like down south because you only read what you read. Here, it's like a ticking time bomb. When's it going to happen? You read things on Facebook, Twitter, other social media. You listen to radio shows. You watch Sports Center, the local news. When is somebody in the front office going to speak? And the biggest issue I have with this team since I've been covering them is that they're not always willing to just speak into the mic and say, okay, this is what we're doing. There's this hint of secrecy that nobody can know what we're doing. If we sneeze, nobody can hear it. If we are walking down the hall, nobody hear the tap shoes. It's militant, or at least it was. And it was a style that Coughlin made famous 25 years ago when he took over the team as the head coach and then general manager and head coach. And he tried to instill that again. And I guess football just isn't the same way it was 25 years ago, Scott.
Well, no, there's no question that times have changed. No doubt about that, David. Times have changed. How you handle players now versus what you handled them before was different. And that goes deeper than just a collective bargaining agreement. Once upon a time you had 3 a days, 2 a days. Now you're lucky to play patty cake, baker's man once or twice a week.
Right, and because this is a player me first society where the money is better, the risk of injury is greater, and everybody needs to cash in early because they know their football life expectancy is very short. Even when we were going through the Jaguars, in 2017, a 10-6 record, although it's good, and you win the division crown, and you move on to the AFC title game, and you do things. There were still things that didn't work with the Jaguars. The passing game was mediocre. The scoring offense was much better, but then again, you had a tailback that they hadn't had since Fred Taylor and Fournette. The defense made everything better. Now you look at the team, and the offense is weak with a new coordinator who was supposed to make it better. And you have a defense who still has the same coordinator running the same system, and it's not working because the players that they have are not as good as it was 2 years ago. And that's not any disrespect for, A.J. Bouye or Josh Allen, who's been great, or Unique or Calais or somebody like that. You can't just plug and play and hope to come out with the same result. It just doesn't work that way. So part of that too is part of the problem with the local, I guess, expectation. Similar to what it was like in the 90s. Everybody got spoiled because the Jaguars of the mid-90s were some of the best teams to ever play football that never got to a Super Bowl. And fans still want to see that.
Well, I mean, I talked about this on a broadcast earlier. Gus Bradley was one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. Unfortunately, he didn't win with this football team. You bring in Doug Marrone, who's a bit more hard-nosed, and he's had a little bit of success. But when you look at the management that's in place, Doug can only do what he's got to do. But Doug has to accept accountability for a lot of the problems that have occurred with this team, too. I mean, I don't like to hear at press conferences, we should have coached better. Don't go there. Don't go there. Or you have otherwise, in my opinion, you've got no business being in that position at all. The good coaches don't say that.
I'm sorry. You're right. Doug Marrone's a really good guy. And then he's the kind of guy that you want to sit down and have a beer with and shoot the breeze and do everything. And he's a good coach. Whether he's a great coach or not, I don't know. And I don't think we're ever going to know that. Because I think that 2017 was an anomaly. But I agree with what you say because you hear it on a Sunday afternoon, I take responsibility and, it's my fault. It starts with me. Well, and I showed this to you, I think, a few weeks ago. I just wish he would just get totally ticked off one day after a game that they lost and start calling names out and saying, our defensive line coach didn't do a good enough job of implementing line blocking, or Todd Wash needs to stop using the one high safety because we're getting burned on third down. You don't hear that. There's not a lot of fire and passion in anything that Doug says. I mean, he's a great guy, and you can tell that he truly loves what he does. But you still get the same thing on a Wednesday that you would on a Sunday afternoon after you've lost a football game, and that's his mentality and his personality.
Well, yeah, he's an even-keeled guy. That you're right. You'd like to have a beer with him. I've enjoyed working with Doug. I've worked with a lot of NFL coaches through the years. I enjoyed Gus Bradley. He just didn't win much at all. But, it doesn't mean he's not a good coach. But Marone's a really nice, straightforward guy, and that's all well and good. But to me, any good coach doesn't say, well, I need to coach better. That, to me, is a sign of weakness. Losing is one thing, but you're supposed to assemble yourself an excellent coaching staff to make sure that you have all bases covered. And whether Marone has done that or not, I mean, a year ago, everybody had Blake Bortles they wanted him out. They thought he was a problem. Well, you got rid of him, went on to the Rams, haven't heard much about Blake. Yet Nick Foles hasn't played that many games, and the one he's played hadn't been very good. And then you have a rookie out of Washington State called Gardner Minshew II, who fits into that town. But in the end, they're not going to the playoffs, and they have two winnable football games. I don't think Indianapolis game is certainly one that is a given for the Colts, knowing that their quarterback situation, to me, a lot people have told me that Jacoby Brissett may not be the answer up there. So, I think Jacksonville has two winnable games. They could conceivably finish 7-9. I really projected initially that the Atlanta-Jacksonville game was the unemployment bowl. Dan Quinn could be on the outs. Doug Marone, who knows if he still is or not. I think what Jacksonville needs is a splash hire like a Ron Rivera. Is what they need to try to, Ron's a proven winner. Does he have the horses in Jacksonville to get the best out of him? I don't know. Perhaps we'll never know. But, Shad Khan's a loyal guy is what he is. And he's certainly a good businessman. We'll see. A lot of interesting dynamics going into our game on Sunday in Atlanta.
Who would have thought, too, when we started talking about Atlanta, that not only would the Jaguars be the team to upend Oakland in their final game, in Alameda Coliseum, but the Atlanta Falcons would beat San Francisco on the West Coast as well. Somebody told me that this was like the West Coast championship of East Coast teams. That the winner gets the West Coast Bowl, and I couldn't stop laughing when he said it to me.
Right.
But you're right. You're right on so many levels with what you said, and I think first and foremost now is excuse me, I'm sorry. People are going to want to know what happens next. Is it going to be a situation because now Marone and Dave Caldwell answer to Shad Khan straightforward? There's no middleman. Does he go in there and say, okay, look, I'm going to give you one more year to try and fix this, or he's going to clean house? And I agree that if we do get rid of Marone, we need somebody with a little more fire, a little more intensity. I like the Ron Rivera idea. I don't think he necessarily comes here. I think he winds up in Washington for some reason. That just keeps on popping in my head. But I like him. I like the idea of maybe them seeing what Robert Saleh, who's the defensive coordinator in San Francisco, we've talked about that, where he has roots in Jacksonville. They do need a coach with a little more, I guess, definitely a more dynamic personality. But
right.
You want to see, whenever they pay, we don't get to see the head coach on the sidelines when we're at the game because we're looking down on him. But when we're watching on television and they're away, and they always pan on the head coach, he's just looking, at the field. He's looking at his scorecard, and you don't see any fire like Belichick or Mike Tomlin or somebody who even Cliff Kingsbury, who I watch every once in a while in the 4 o'clock games here. But for some reason we get a lot of Arizona over here. I don't know why, but they're animated and they show passion and fire. And I think if Marone had that, fans would want him to stay.
I don't put a lot of stock in what fans say. I really, frankly, don't care being on in the media as long as I have. I will tell